Peace and welcome to episode 2 of Podcast Bloody Podcast, a Black Sabbath mini-pod which celebrates the band's canonical first 5 years, hosted by myself, GENG PTP, and Alaska of the Addams Family and Call Out Culture podcast. In this episode, we speak on Sabbath's 1970 self-titled debut album with our guest, New Jersey's own super rapper, voice actor, horror film enthusiast, and bulletproof Chinese food plus fine liquor connoisseur, Fatboi Sharif. Sharif, what's good?
My brothers, Alaska, GENG, it's about to go down. It's about to go down. You feel me?
It is.
I'm honored to be y'all first guest. Appreciate y'all reaching out for sure.
Fact.
Hell yeah, man. We're excited that we get to talk about this with you.
Indeed.
Hell yeah. Now we're definitely going to cross all the T's and dot all the I's.
Indeed.
Hell yeah.
Cross all the upside down crosses.
Yeah.
That's later.
That's later. That's the after party. The after party.
Yeah.
Word. Shit. Well, I don't know. Where should we start, my friends?
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nah, you good.
I was gonna say, do y'all want to do it kind of everybody just go around and talk about, I guess, how they first got put on to Sabbath, whether like album or group or maybe a certain member first?
Let's speak about specifically when we first heard this album. And
okay, well,
thank you for asking the first question, Sharif. There you go.
There it is, yeah.
And also, like, what did you think when you first heard this album? Like, where were you? What, around what year was it? And what were your first impressions?
Set it off, Alaska.
I mean, I don't remember the year. I feel like it was in the early 90s. I had heard these songs before, but I never really sat with it as a record. I don't think until then. And I found a copy of it at like a garage sale or something. And it was like the cover was all tattered and everything. Like the corners were ripped off on the vinyl sleeve. It was like real, like smelled like somebody's basement, like that type of a record.
Oh, those the best.
And I was just like enthralled with the cover, right? Like that cover is just, it's evil.
Yeah.
It's this like beautiful work of evil. There's something so off-putting about it. And that's what made me buy it really more than anything. I was like, I never really sat with this record. I know like NIB, my name is Lucifer, bang, bang, bang. Oh yeah, that shit.
Right.
I knew the Wizard, but I never really like listened to it as a whole. And
how did you know about NIB and the Wizard? Was it from that best of?
Yeah, it was from the what's it called? The best of cassette that I got at the gas station when I was young. Like I don't know, this might be before your time, Sharif, but back in the day you would go to like gas stations in the middle of nowhere and they would have like, because there was like no like malls or anything, so there was no record stores, and the gas stations would just have like a spinning display of cassettes.
I bought some porn off of some of those. So
there you go. Exactly.
I know exactly
So,
what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I bought like a bootleg Sabbath one because I liked Iron Man at the time. I was like in high school. I might have even been younger. I might have been in middle school. And it had like, just all these different songs. And it was like, it was so bootleg, like back in the day, it was like a pink cassette, I think, with like a stick-on label. Like it was like some real bootleg shit. Like, some like Japanese manufacturer or something was selling it to the gas station.
I fuck with that.
But yeah, so it was like I heard all these pieces kind of like individually on their own. And then I had never heard the self-titled song, Black Sabbath, and I put that on. I was just like, what the fuck is this?
The greatest opening track ever.
Oof.
There you go.
My God,
crazy,
yeah.
Crazy.
Just like the rain and the bell, like listening to that while looking at the cover was just like, I was like, I'm into this. So I just like kind of fell in love with it quickly. Like it quickly supplanted Paranoid. Like, you know, at that time, like Paranoid was the one I still listened to pretty heavily. But once I heard this, I was like, I'm done with that record. I'm putting that record away for a while. And it just like, it pulled me in because it's like front to back. There was nothing that was played out. You know what I mean? Like songs on Paranoid, like Iron Man and Paranoid, even War Pigs a little bit were kind of played out at that time. Like you just heard them so many times. You're like, I don't need to hear this anymore. So these were just like these new crazy compositions, like 8-minute songs that are like 3 different songs combined. It was just like, wow. You know, and I know they did that a little on Paranoid, but I feel like they got deeper into it here.
No, I was gonna say, to me, that was like, that's the illness of like them, like, because even like me, I would say I got obviously put on the Ozzy first when I was younger. So
Same.
So growing up, I was super huge into like the Osmosis album and Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman and all of that.
Wow.
So I dug into him and I was like, okay, obviously you just hit like Crazy Train was obviously the first song I heard because that's the one that you hear at all of the sports games and all of that, even like Iron Man, like from different movies and stuff. But I'm like, all right, I'm feeling, I'm like, I love this new music. Let me check his origin story type flavor. Like, so I dug back into all of the old Sabbath albums and kind of like Alaska, just the cover of the first one kind of like had me like, okay, like it reminded me of like something that would be in like your grandparents' crib that it's like, yeah, don't open that. Like you gotta be like 28 years old to listen to that type thing. Like, and it's crazy because like even from the first song on, the more that you me going back listening to it like for the past like 2 weeks, going back to it again. Because I got put onto it probably like I would say about 7 to 8 years ago. So kind of like under like a decade ago. But it's dope with just kind of like how it's to me, it's like an overall complete feeling of the album. And it's kind of like, it reminds me of kind of like how I make music, even like you, Ging, and you like Alaska, like it's kind of like the picture is being painted for the listener, but it's being painted in every aspect. So from the artwork to the song titles to even like the lyrics, like that was one huge thing. Like back in the day, their music was controversial for, like we were joking about the devil worshiping and all of this, but it was literally no curse words in it. It was just literally like the stuff they was touching on was so kind of like crazy and taboo to them. But nowadays, if you listen to it, it still gives you the same power from it. And it wasn't tongue in cheek. Like you could literally hear it and be like, okay, like this is leading me somewhere. Like,
right. I mean, this is a far cry from like what Alice Cooper and them were doing later on, and that's later on anyway. This like re-listening to this album kind of gave me that the pinch to go like observe what else was going on around this time musically, like what other like so-called like, I mean, you know, like albums that were like exploring like so-called like maybe like occult themes or just doing things that were very like counter to the like mainstream like religious that's read as Christian, like Western Christian like cultural narrative, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So things that were like, whether that be lyrically or sonically, you know, things that sounded so-called dark, things that explored so-called dark themes, right?
Yeah.
And like, I kind of didn't really come up with, I mean, there's things out there that's like, you know, something you could say like the Miles Davis stuff, like Bitches Brew, even in a silent way, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's moments on those, some early Herbie Hancock, like the Mondishi era Herbie Hancock stuff, all that, like, you know, Albert Eiler has a joint, Music as a Healing Force, from 1970, that has like a very like, there's some moments that sound like there's a moment where you're not sure what you're like, it's like trance inducing, and you're not sure if you're like listening to like, so at one point it sounds like some like Ennio Morricone type shit for like Exorcist 2. Like it's crazy, like it really like plays with your head. And basically what I'm saying is like the way that they approached the, just from jump, from The Rain, The Bell, the album cover. Shout out to Louisa Livingstone, who's the model on the woman on the cover.
I get the name.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's from jump they were like tapped in, and from the documentary, the Paranoid documentary. Who was it? Was it Geezer? Geezer's talking about Geezer Butler, I believe, or talking about like, how he was like really into the occult, but not like Satanism, more so from like astral plane, just like a different sort of like idea of like spirituality and like just whatever, like subliminal, like liminal existence. You know what I'm saying? Like just like things that like can be around us that aren't necessarily like the unseen kind of forces, so to speak.
Yeah,
I don't know. My point being is like when this shit. Well, when I came to this, I didn't, I was still building that context or whatever. Like, so I was like, it was in the 90s, and I wasn't really into Ozzy's music like that. So, because at that point, just like we were saying, like kind of like Alice Cooper, like Ozzy seemed kind of like a cartoon character to me. So, this was the first Black Sabbath album I purchased, I bought, and like really dove into. I listened to start to back, front to back, and I was just like, mind blown. Okay, this is exactly that. Like the first riff is that what we said in the intro episode, the Devil's Tritone, just that like that riff that so many other bands kind of like took off from, what I'm saying? Like they heard that and they're like, oh, we can make music like this as well. You know what I'm saying? Like I think this opened the gates for so many folks to like really tap in and like explore things that weren't, in a certain type of key that made you feel fuzzy and warm. You know what I'm saying? This was like very like brooding and like, yeah, there's a lot going on here and on this album. I think that like they don't really even get credit for, so to speak, in a lot of the narratives that we hear when they report on Sabbath.
I mean, they really only talk about Paranoid when they talk about Black Sabbath.
I mean, yeah, facts.
Like if we're being real, right?
Right.
No, Paranoid. They talk about certain songs too.
Yeah,
certain songs. Or to me, like I never really liked how they kind of brought up, like I was saying, the controversy and kind of made that bigger than the music, depending on how you heard about it and got put onto them.
Right.
And it to me, like one of the dopest things about it that it kind of hit me later on, like when I was listening to it, I'm like, for it dropping in 1970,
right?
It's literally stuck between two of the biggest and craziest time periods ever. It's literally coming out of the LSD Manson era, that all of the stuff that was going on in Cali, in between David Berkowitz and all of that. So like to me, like if you take the late 60s, late 70s, and put this album at the top of it, and you listen to it, you could be like, okay, like it sounds like all of this chaos and craziness that was going on through the world. Not even though they from another country, like you can listen to it and be like, yeah, you can this sounds like something that was made in the middle of California doing the Sherry Tate trial, or something that was made in the middle of New York doing the New York blackouts. Like that's the type vibe and energy like that you kind of get from it.
That's interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's like they're the first band that saw the darkness that was going to come out of the 60s.
Yeah, because that's my whole thing. Like I did, like who else was making music that was this like ominous? Yeah. At that point, like starting it off on that note and being like, this is us. You know what I mean? Like we're not. I mean,
it was a New York band that was like close to that time.
The Brooklyn,
a band called Pentagram.
Oh yeah. What year was?
I said I got to tap into that.
Yeah, I mean they're not particularly great, but they did have like, so there's a documentary about the singer of that group, called like Last Days Here or something like that, and they were basically kind of considered like contemporary. I think they dropped their first album in 71.
71, yep.
Yeah, but they're like a New York band, and like the singer got like wildly into drugs, and like basically derailed the whole band. But they like it's a fresh documentary because they find him like 30 years later. He's just like a shell. And it's about him like coming back from addiction. Like just basically a fan that like believed in him and like helped him overcome it and bring the band back together, and like they started like playing together again.
Right.
But they were like maybe the only other band that was doing shit like that.
Okay. Yeah. I see.
But not nearly on the level of Sabbath.
Right.
Like let's be real. Like
Sabbath really got like a good 3 generations of children.
Yeah.
Yes.
From like we were saying, from Cooper to Zombie to Manson to everybody else far and in between. Like,
yeah. I mean, they like set off the whole like new wave of British metal, like that came kind of after them. It was like them, Motorhead, and then like Maiden and all those groups.
Truly. Yeah. I also, just real quick as a side note, I see Pentagram. I mean, when I looked it up, Pentagram looks like they're from. It's saying they're from Alexandria, Virginia.
Oh, word. Okay.
Yeah, there is no. There's
that. Does say that.
There's
I guess maybe like the dude lived in New York when they were filming it.
Okay, copy that. Because there's also a band that comes a little later in my like research. It's like they're from Brooklyn. There's a trio from Brooklyn. I'll get the name as I don't want to take time searching it out right now, but I'll get the name and include it here. But anyway, Sharif, I mean, you might have touched on this already, but like, why was this album in particular like so special to you? Like, what really like drew you in? And you said this was the first Sabbath album that you really like fully tapped into?
No. I was into Ozzy music, so I went back and I heard Paranoid, like all of the ones. Yeah, I heard the more popular ones first, and me liking those and seeing the cover, it made me tap into the debut. But to me, I always, like I was saying, kind of like the thing that held on to me over the other ones was just kind of like the overall experience of it. And fun fact about it, they literally recorded it in one day.
Yeah, 8-hour session, something like that.
Yeah. So just listening to all of that put together, it sounded like one big jam session that was kind of a big jam session that they knew what they was trying to make. Kind of like if I'm just like, yo, let's go to the studio. I've been writing some stuff and we just vibing out to it. Right. But I always love the mixing on it too. Like, the mixing on it was real dope. Kind of like how you would hear different elements of it, where it's kind of like the opening song, Black Sabbath. That literally, the riff that goes maybe like, I want to say a minute and a half before the words come in.
Right.
And nowadays it could be, nowadays you can look at it like, all right, that was dope, but picture it in 1970. Like, kind of like whenever I listen to it, I kind of put it in the time frame that it was in. And like I said, kind of like the chaos of the Vietnam movement, the Manson trial movement, everything that was going on just with the unemployment going on in this country. And like, it's a time capsule album. Like, And I always been a big fan of time capsule albums that I could hear and kind of pinpoint when it was made. So like me listening to it, I'm like, okay, like I can tell like that it couldn't be made today.
Word.
If you took literally that same group, the same members, gave them the same day to do it today, they couldn't. It would be a whole nother album that you would get. From. So it's definitely a time and a place project for sure.
I mean,
that's just some amazing writing and amazing instrumentation.
Let's talk about that. Actually, I mean, that's the one thing. Like right out the gate, you have the song. Like the lyrics on this are crazy.
Yeah.
Like just unfuckwittable. Like stellar. Like, you know, what is this that stands before me? That like just from that, like you're gonna open with that. And then you look back at the album cover and you're like, yo.
Yeah. That's what really makes the album cover creepy, right?
This is fucked.
Yo, the album cover is scarier than most horror movies I've ever seen.
What is this that stands before me? Figure
because it's like you don't know necessarily like what you're looking at. You're like, what? Like, I mean, saying, and they continue that motif. Whoever, me being who I am, like I should be like more up on who did what, but like whoever, if it was the same person or if they hired someone new to do the Paranoid cover, like they kind of continue that. You're like, what is, like, you know, it like the whole album art, really like the first two album covers though, like this and Paranoid have this like sort of like blurry figure on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously like the long haired, like really white, like deathly white skinned, kind of dark eyed. It's crazy looking. Like it's fucking horrifying. Like I don't know, like that. There's something just different about that image, and then that image has then like been like continued on throughout. Like you see that as a trope in horror movies. Like that's like the Ring. You know what I'm saying? That's like
it's like every witch movie too.
Every witch movie, right? Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
Is that person still alive that did that damn artwork?
You trying to get the contact info?
Who's that person?
I believe. It's crazy. I believe their name might be Keef, like Chief Keef.
Oh, look, what if Chief Keef really did it?
Yeah,
What? He's just a time traveler.
Yeah. I believe that, If someone were to have a fucking, I mean, it would be Chief Keef have the fucking time machine.
Somebody named Keith McMillan.
Keith McMillan,
okay,
aka Keef.
Keef
on your Discogs. He was a photographer, designer who did a lot of stuff for Vertigo Records as well as other labels. Vertigo being the label that Sabbath was on.
He was real dope.
Yeah, super crazy.
Nah, that's ill. I kind of want to go off for like, what Gang was said about the lyrics. Like,
go in.
To me, like it was real, like, especially that time period. To me, you got a lot of different artists who spoke about the times that was going on, but to me, they talked about it kind of like in more of a creative aspect, kind of like you might see in like a Lord of the Rings or like
okay, right,
so like more mystical, kind of
like Jethro Tull and shit like that.
It's kind of borderline remind me of some rap lyrics the way Ozzy was coming, even like some of the placement of them, because it might not even be a full thought. Sometimes it might just start with an imagery, then go to different feelings in the like crazy.
Yeah, this album does do that. This one thing though, this album does pretty much have a consistent through line, based around occultism though. Like most of the songs refer back to, a certain type of evil force or evil force personified. Lucifer is mentioned by name, Satan is mentioned by name, things of that nature. So I mean, from the first song to what is it? Not NIB. What's the song?
Yeah. Which one?
Well, it might be NIB.
Is Lucifer.
Yeah.
Right, it's
right.
NIB. Yeah.
NIB. Right. So that's also. I'm gonna carry that. I'm gonna hold that, and like as we go through the other the following albums and see where it goes. Because right now I know for a fact that on Paranoid they kind of push. They keep that in the pocket, but they really go more toward a so-called material world narrative. You know what I mean? Like they're talking about like politics and things like that.
Yeah, they get into a wild political bent on that.
Yeah, which is cool. It's like you didn't do the same thing twice.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. No. Let me ask y'all, in hindsight, when y'all taking all the Sabbath albums, what do y'all rate it with the rest of their catalog? Kind of like from, I guess, on all aspects, because I wanted to kind of just zero in on how do y'all feel as the writing it got, even when it came in with different members and all of that, or kind of just like the overall aspect of just hearing this compared to Paranoid and everything else that they kept going on.
Shit.
Like, does it sound like a debut to y'all? Because certain albums, like, if you get what I'm saying, certain albums, you can hear it and be like, okay, they're just getting their feet wet. But to me, like, this is a project you can hear it in. You could think this was like their fifth album, or their fourth album.
Yeah.
Just how everything was like clicking together. Like.
To that specific question though, to me, I actually do think it does sound like a debut, but just knowing like, one, this is the first thing I heard by them. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like I mean, I don't know. This is a debut that's akin to like 36 Chambers or something, where it's just like, okay, like like this is a world, we're presenting it to you, like we've built this together, and we've like kind of like we've sanded off the edges, so to speak, and like threw some layers of varnish on the thing, and like here it is. You know what I'm saying? Like we've definitely like the plants have grown rather, and like there's now like a forest that we can like lead you through versus like, you know, like kind of seeing like the rough. There's no in musical technical sort of way, there's no roughness to this. It's very like, it doesn't sound like demos. It's very much like established. I think they all had their voices. I think the engineering is a little bit different on this versus the things that follow. In regard to like, most specifically, like I think this one is like, the band is like more like, on most songs is more Iommi and like Tommy on guitar and Bill Ward on drums, whereas Paranoid kicks in the Bill Ward Geezer Butler combo, and like as like the powerhouse. You hear there's moments of Geezer on this that are like absolutely, you know, he's at the forefront for sure. And you know, we could talk about them when we get into specific songs or whatnot, but like, I think this album has a bit of a different like sonic quality as far as the layers are concerned and how they all sit. But
I always, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go on.
I always felt with this one, and it kind of was driven home like after last week, like spending the whole week with Paranoid, and then coming back to this one. This one is like, it's almost like they're all like on top of each other in the same space. With this album, like, right, and then by Paranoid, they all have like their individual space in the record where they could sort of like maneuver and sort of like put their sounds through and like sort of find their mode to be in, or their space to be in. Whereas this one, it's like, because the same engineer on both records.
Same producer,
right?
Same engineer.
So same producer, same recording method. I think they just like figured out like, you know, what to do a little bit more with their sound and how to like really flush it out. And make it work. And then even like as they get into later albums, it's like I was reading how they like sort of tuned everything down. And sort of like Geezer tuned his bass down. Iommi started playing slower,
right,
to sort of get like a more sort of like almost like a machine rolling over you sound. Like just to like kind of create like a different like driving force behind the music, like really on Masters of Reality.
Right.
They talk about that.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Do we want to get to? Well, I don't know. What are you, Sharif? You didn't answer your own question. What about like where does this sit, and does it sound like something that, would you say that it sounds like a debut in terms of, you know, they're still kind of like rough around the edges or trying to find their voices, or, you know, what does this, how does this sit with you? And like also just in terms of like, you're trying to give us the rank. I can't rank this album. Like this is one of, like when I listen to it, it's one of my favorites. That's like, all it still stands to that degree of, you know, impact, so to speak.
Hell yeah. Funny thing, to me, it sounds like a debut from the aspect of the freeness of it. So it got like, with just kind of like Gen, you were saying, with just the songwriting aspect of it, from different stuff like Lucifer and different, it sounded like they was having fun in the studio. Like them making it in the day, I could tell it was stuff that Ozzy probably might have had written for maybe about 2 or 3 years. And to me, and when they linked up, they probably got in there, and it sounded like more just a fun project with different instrumentation. Like we said, once they got to Paranoid, they got more political. So to me, that might have been more of, not maybe the label, but kind of more of like, all right, let's make an album now. Let's kind of go into it from the aspect of let's kind of maybe shorten some of these songs, maybe take some of the subject matter out to try to maybe appeal to a different fan base. Maybe I might be looking too much into it, kind of like how I listen to it, but.
Well, it was Geezer, right? Geezer was the one who was writing the songs.
Yeah, he wrote the lyrics.
The lyrics, right? Which is interesting.
But Ozzy, they said Ozzy did the melodies and the harmonies.
The melody,
and stuff.
yeah, like off the top a lot. Well, not off the top, but like he would like riff the melodies, right? And like
when like they would go into like sort of the rehearsal space and start jamming, and he would just sit and sort of say words, almost like when you're trying like to figure out your flow when you're rhyming. Like you're working on a song, you'll be like,
well, I said him just because it kind of like he's kind of like the face of the lyricist.
Yeah,
kind of like
definitely.
Yeah, for people who might not know exactly, like
right.
He's the interpretation of the words perfectly.
Yeah.
Or, why don't we talk about like the roles of the band members and then go into favorite joints?
Bet.
Like just sort of like where you see like sort of like who was leading things in this record and sort of what were their indispensable parts and contributions.
Yeah, Sharif. Well, who are your favorite? Like, who do you see as like if you were to rank them? I guess the 4 members. Yeah,
I'll say Bill Ward just because obviously the percussion is one of the things you always hear first.
Yeah.
So I would say I'll do the ranking, then I'll just say particularly what I liked about each. So if I'm gonna do order, I'll do Bill, Tony, Ozzy, Geezer.
Okay, yeah, I'd say fair on this album. I'd say
because kind of like Bill with the drum, obviously the guitarist. That's gonna be the second thing you hear. Kind of just what melded it all together, and Ozzy, obviously the voice, the emotion, and the Geezer with the writing aspect of it. So,
yeah. What about you?
Mean, I'm me. I'm in love with Ward's drumming, so he kind of always like comes in the top. I think I had like him and Geezer kind of almost tied when we did Paranoid.
Right.
But like I think for me it's like him and Ozzy set it off on this record. Like they're the two that carried, and then Iommi and Geezer bringing up the rear on this one.
Yeah. I think I'm with that. I think Ward definitely holds a place at the top. And then it's kind of interchangeable between Iommi and Ozzy. Not, I mean, again, no one's losing. Number 4 in this is better than most people's number 1, so to speak. I mean?
Yeah, it's 1D.
It's 1D. Exactly. We're not doing.
All you gotta do is put on the Wizard, and you're like, all right, this dude's drumming is out of the fucking world.
Go in.
Oh no, my bad. I was gonna say it's ill because with Wizard, me listening to it again, like over the past 2 weeks, I noticed that literally the drum pattern from it is the same one that Tribe used or We the People.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh shit. Like, kind of like I want to say maybe a minute and 50 in.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I'm listening to it, I'm like, yo, how the hell do I know this? This drum pattern, like,
he's playing them so hard on that song too. Like he's beating the shit out of those drums. Like they owe him money.
Right. and he's got the cowbell in there too.
Yeah, he does.
It's just so funky. Like, it is crazy. Like, that's the thing. Like we mentioned that in the previous episode in the intro. Like, they don't get credit for like being like so funky and so and so like blues infused too. Like you see all that on this album. Like that's why like The Warning, is it the last song? It's like the 10-minute. And that like Sleeping Village, like so there's like different releases of this album had have these songs either put together as one like 13, 14-minute opus, or like Sleeping Village is separate. Then there's The Warning, and there's also a Bit of Finger, I think.
Bit of Finger, yeah.
Yeah. And actually, and also there's a version of the album. The first version of the album I had was the US pressing that had Wicked World and Not Evil Woman. So I heard a different, like the one that I've been listening to more recently has been like the UK version that has like Evil Woman on it, which is not what I'm used to. So like it's, and I know it's like I think it's a cover too. So it sticks out as like it's a palate cleanser. It's a cool palate cleanser. Like it's a cool song, but it's not necessarily like I don't think it's necessary in the sequence of this album in terms of like the narrative and all that. You know what I mean?
No, I think it was their first single, like the first single that they dropped before the record dropped.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Evil Woman and Wicked World was on the B-side.
Yeah.
See, I was a fan of Evil Woman.
It's hard. It's hard.
And I'm not usually a cover song guy. Like I think the only other cover song I might really like is the Snoop version of Children's Story on Doggy Style.
Oh wow! You went there, okay?
Yeah, I think they I liked it because to me they gave it its own world. Like I can hear that and be like, okay, I like this particular song from them. Like you might not even know it's a cover. Like kind of like how they attacked it.
Yo, Sharif, real quick though, and to speak to all of, I mean, you know, I'm not gonna really add on much to the conversation of like the ranking and whatnot, but to speak to Ward and his place and his importance in the structure of this album is like, it's Behind the Wall of Sleep, which is also one of my favorite titles of all time. That's where you get the drum break. That's where you get that. And We the People, also Hootie Hoo, Outkast.
We don't believe you, cause we the people are still here in the rear, yo, we don't need
Big Y on my left, Andre's on my right. Tight like highways, smoked out our way.
I was like, oh shit, that's that shit. And that's why, that's my favorite early era one of my favorite early era Outkast.
Yeah.
Like that song is crazy. But
see, I didn't even peep that. I peeped the We the People. And it's crazy.
Right.
My bad on messing up the title.
No, you good.
The version I got, Warning, is the last song, but I kind of got it where I just got it as like one long file. Like, like I downloaded it and just play it like it's one thing. So
no, the Wizard. Go in, dude.
No, I was gonna say I just like threw it on in the background to hear those drums again. I was like, man, he goes off on this whole record. It's so much swing to this record. It really swings on this shit.
Right. That's
no,
it.
It was kind of going off of like I like what Gig said, the funkiness of them.
Yeah.
To me, like that was the beauty of the one-day recording process of it.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think if you take this album and you put it in a big studio like the other ones, you give them, all right, this is your budget, this is the time y'all got, this is the window y'all got. Y'all don't get the freeness of the 10-minute songs with the three transitions. You might not get the different undermixing over certain vocals and how certain guitars kick in and out. Like,
and to watch it, like they were playing all this stuff on the road for a couple of years too, right? So like, you know, when you're out doing shows all the time, like you really learn the song.
Hell yeah, the peanut butter and jelly right there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so by the time, like, if they're playing that on the road for like 2 years, by the time they get in the studio, that shit, like, they know every single pocket of that song. They know exactly where to sit and just lay everything down. Like, and you get into the other song, like, you have more time in the studio. And at this point, they have more debauchery too, because they got some money. You don't have that ease necessarily that you have with, with these songs and later songs. and they're still making amazing records, but there's something in like these first 2 records that are just like, there's a magic in those 2 records that I don't know if it's there in the other records. There's still like amazing records, but there's like something intangible in these 2 that you can't really put your finger on.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's ill you said that too, because most Sabbath fans and people that get put onto them, they mostly always go to like Crazy Train.
Yeah.
Or stuff like that. So it's dope, like to me, like that a lot of their best music or stuff that I would put over that is from literally like they infant stages. Like before they, like we say, more came into their own and kept going with different members and all of that.
Right.
Do you ever listen to the other iterations of Sabbath? Either of you guys?
Not really. I would say honestly, after the first 3 albums, I heard the other albums, but I can't really tell you about them. I didn't really sit with the other albums. I heard them. I'm like, oh, this is dope. But so once certain elements started moving around, it stopped hitting me as hard as the original.
The originals, yeah.
I'm gonna go back and tap into them though. Like since y'all covering them all, I'm gonna definitely go back and listen from 4 on.
Fuck with the ones that we cover. You don't gotta worry about heaven or hell and any of that bullshit.
No,
shit. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself or your day. Yeah, I mean, also like, they had a harmonica solo.
Yeah.
On the Wizard, which goes crazy, by the way. I actually don't even know who plays that. I love the fact that like the Wizard, like when you look at the lyrics, it's like actually like a super happy song, like or rather like it's like a super positive song, which like it's like after Black Sabbath, like after like the Figure in Black and and then it's just like,
like early morning.
You're like, okay, yeah, it's a contrast, and like but it still has that like occult. It still like hits on the occultism, you know what I mean? Like the occultist kind of like levels of like, all right, like there's a certain, a certain magic that's being done that's not reported by the church, so to speak, or like, biblical or
for sure,
religious texts of that nature.
And it is wild that the Wizard is a power. He's like a sort of like a power for good.
Yeah.
Right. Like they have like the whole verse about like, when he's around, evil's like, oh shit.
Evil's like, wow.
The Wizard's coming by.
Yeah.
So they're like let's bounce while this dude's around.
Yeah. And his funny clothes and tingling bells and whatnot.
Yeah. So Ozzy played the harmonica.
Woo!
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Damn.
I definitely never knew that.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I had no idea, but they said it was Ozzy, and it's on Google, so it's true.
Yeah. I mean. But that's the thing, like that, and then right Behind the Wall of Sleep comes right after that, right? So it's like you get these 2 moments of like charging Bill Ward drumming versus this what begins as like this, behemoth, but like super spaced out. What the Black Sabbath starts as, just like boom, boom, like he's just hitting on like every. I mean, it was almost like the one of each bar. It depends on how you count it, but like it's so slow until the change up. The change up is fucking crazy at the very like close to the end of the Black Sabbath song.
Yeah.
And like, not for nothing, when I was listening to that joint, just before this, Iommi's guitar tone is on that change up. Like, take note of that. Like, people should go back to that and like peep that and like then like tell me I mean, it's not like I'm not saying he invented that. I'm not, but like I definitely believe that like Rage Against the Machine's Tom Morello heard that shit and was just like, woo! Like I'm just rocking with that. I don't know. I can't tell you what like the pedals they used or whatever, what the effects chain was, but like there's a certain quality. It's a really like unique tone that he hits. That's not like, you don't really hear him using that too often. And I don't think any, not on the albums that we've been listening to recently. So like, that's to be noted as well. But yeah, I mean, like, they're hitting change ups crazy on this album already, like out the jump. Like you said, they were super tapped in, dialed in with each other and playing these songs, on the road, so to speak, right?
There's so much talent in this group. Like one of the things that always impresses me with a band is when it's not one groove all the way through, right? Like some bands will like have a song that like just doesn't sound anything like the beginning of the song by the end of the song. Right. And I'm like, that's always cool to me. But when you add that extra step at the end and you bring it back to the beginning, like, and it's just such a natural, like, just like you're going up the mountain and then back down the other side. It's just like, I really appreciate that. And they do that so often and so seamlessly. Like you don't even see it coming. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, wait, I'm back at the beginning again. Shit is it's like a roller coaster ride.
Right.
No, it literally sounds like one long out, like, like
long song, right?
Yeah, to me, you can literally just put it on a playlist and just play it, and you'll be like, "Yo, that's that."
Yeah. Huh. This is kind of This is.
I'm telling you, gang. Like that's how that particular. In certain albums, I'll listen to like that, with just kind of like sonically. I'm like, because that's kind of like how I make projects too. I'm like, can I listen to it as one whole file, and it's just. It's kind of like the continuation instead of a song. Right. So like to me, this was one of the early albums that kind of like did like to me that's the dopeness about the recording in one day. It's kind of just we're gonna record all of this and we're gonna break it down later. We're gonna figure that out later. But for now, keep these riffs going, keep this microphone going.
Right. Keep it on,
yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, sequencing is fucking, out is perfect. Like I again, like, do I love the Evil Woman version versus the Wicked World version? You know what I'm saying? But like at the end of it all or whatever, like I mean, like there's points where like that's the thing. Like I was listening to it, I was like, wait, what song am I listening to right now?
That's
like,
why
Sleeping Village goes into the warning in this way that like it bleeds right into it, and it's just like, oh shit, another change up, and you're like, oh no, wait, that's a new song. But you're also questioning, like, did they do this in one take, like this whole thing, and they just cut it?
I feel like they did.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, you mean the album in one take?
No. Like Sleeping Village, specifically Sleeping, slip a bit of finger, Sleeping Village into the warning. Because they all like melodic. Like I feel like it's all the same key. Like they all like are just so in tune with each other. You know what I mean? Like it definitely sounds like there's a consistency there, and like the tone, everything. I don't know. It's crazy. Sleeping Village, that's one of those moments too, where it just like, it goes change up, and then brings it back. And you're like, yo, how did we do all that? And we're back here now.
Yeah.
Like, yo, that shit.
Yeah, it's really so goddamn impressive. And then, I mean, this is such like a stupid little thing, but I love the way that on Warning, Ice Cube, what the fuck am I talking about? Ozzy says, you look so cool and casual. Like the way he says casual always kills me. It's just like, I'm like, oh man.
Oh shit. Right. Yeah. I peeped that. I peeped that before.
Like he had to like freak it just a little bit to make the flow work.
Right.
I was like, that's some MCing right there. I really appreciate it.
You never said you love me, and I don't believe you can. 'Cause I saw you in a dream and you were with another man. You look so cool and casual, and I try to look the same. But now I've got to love you. Tell me, who am I to blame? I was born you, baby, but my feelings were a little bit too strong.
And another ill thing about it to me is kind of like it takes you through all these different rides and emotions, and then you sit back and it's literally only like 7 songs, depending on the version you got. Like, and today that would be considered the EP, but like crazy.
No, I mean, yeah, it's durationally, it goes there. Like, I mean,
it's shorter than Illmatic.
It gave you just enough to me. To me, if it went not 10 songs, 11 songs, it might have kind of maybe not lost the magic, but it might have not hit as hard and as memorable consistent as it did with just a straight 7 tracks. This song we're gonna have 3 parts to it, and a one and done, as they said.
Yeah, it's a 38-minute record.
Yeah.
Jesus. Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy considering that one of the songs is over 10
14 minutes.
Right. That's so good.
It's like one whole side is that song.
Right. I love that. God damn.
Yeah.
That was the era of that though. You could like Curtis Mayfield, I have like a 15-minute song and it'd be
yeah, for sure.
Like I was a kid, he'll have a 10, 12-minute song, and you like, yo, this shit is the best song I ever heard.
Yeah, like, shit, isn't Bitches Brew like that too? Like
Bitches Brew. I was about to say Bitches Brew.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Miles Davis had.
I missed that. I missed the 10, 12-minute songs. Yeah, you got to bring that back.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I always like. I never have the balls to try to do it, but like putting out an album as like just one song, like the whole thing, it's just all combined. Like you can't skip. Sorry, you're not playlisting this.
Right. That was my first album, which I mean it's like a 45-minute file or some shit like that. I can't even press it. I have to like, if I were to press it to vinyl, I'd have to like chisel it down. I'd like cut point moments out, which might be kind of cool too.
Yeah.
But like it's that thing of like, nah, like fuck it. Maybe this gave me that, maybe because this is part of my DNA. So like maybe this, I wouldn't, I'd be crazy not to like include this as like part of my like inspirations in terms of like how I approach, you know, like a piece, like a whole work, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Word.
You know, for sure.
Sharif, what's your favorite song? But also like, what is the song that if you were a wrestler, like what would you walk out to? Like, what's your like?
Oh man,
I see you like, I see it. I have images, and I need like.
Which one would you say? Everybody, I want to see if it's the same one that I'm thinking. Because I'm going between 2 songs in my head.
I mean, it's gonna be night and day type shit. It's gonna be like it would be like the Wizard and Black Sabbath, perhaps. Perhaps
okay.
For you, but you know, that's like those are the most like anthemic, but also like contrasting, right? I guess, perhaps.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it's a 2-parter for me. When I'm coming to the ring, it's Black Sabbath, but just the first minute and 30, just the first minute, no vocals, just the first minute.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. I'm gonna cut it.
Hit him with the riffs. Okay.
Yeah, just the riff. I'll come out to the riff. When I leave, it's just the vocals on Wicked World. So the first 4 to 5 minutes of Wicked World, that's my exit.
I like that you went to Wicked World. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, that's my favorite song on the project.
Oh, word?
Yeah, hell yeah. I love that shit. It's funny too, because me listening to it, even like kind of like the voice tone, the eyes, and like the feel of the riff to me, it gave me a feel of like early Metallica, like Master of Puppets, yeah, kind of Master of Puppety, kind of literally Sanitarium.
Word.
To me, like,
okay.
Yeah, me listening to it, like, because I'm like, yo, this definitely gave me. I could tell James definitely was vibing to this album. Cause
oh yeah. Anyone who was playing heavy music with guitars was like, we've heard Sabbath many times.
Oh yeah.
We've studied them.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go to Sabotage, that's like the blueprint for thrash metal.
Yep.
When you like sit with that record, you're like, wow, that shit is fucking hard and fast.
Sharif, that's for you to tap into rather. Later Sabbath album.
Okay.
Still Ozzy era. Yeah, Sabotage.
Yeah.
Not the song, and definitely not the
Not the Beastie Boys.
We're not talking about the Beastie Boys.
No,
We're talking about
literally,
Sabbath.
I thought he was talking about the beat. I'm like, what the fuck?
No, yeah, that's exactly all Alaska thinks about all day.
Yeah, you know about my legendary love for the Beastie Boys.
Okay, so I'm gonna tap into that one, gang. Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good record. I think you'll dig it.
It's fucking
okay, now
stellar,
for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Alaska? What favorite, and if you had any sort of like walking theme music, so to speak?
I mean, it would probably be like Behind the Wall of Sleep.
Ooh.
That shit like that. Burn, 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 burn.
Yeah, my God, that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That shit is just like, that just groove is too hard for me. It's
Yeah.
like that shit. And then Warning, like those are my two, like, I mean, what a way to go out with Warning.
Yeah, right. That's a journey. That whole song is a fucking journey, especially after my favorite Sleeping. Probably my. I don't know. I can't say it's my favorite, but at this moment, I'm gonna say it's my favorites. My favorite being Sleeping Village.
Sleeping Village is so crazy.
Sleeping Village is like, yo, you like. Let's just talk about the third switch up, which is after the intro, after the acoustic intro. Then there's like there's the blues section, little bluesy part that then makes sense with Warning, the Warning, right? And then you have the breakdown. It's gonna be a lot of this in the podcast. It's gonna be us.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of us making noise.
But yo, like when I was first of all, like that always stuck out to me. So much that I chose to like. I like did a video when I did that like slowed and chopped and slowed version mix of Sabbath or whatever. Like I made a video to that with like parts of the Omen when they were like in the yard and they get attacked by the dogs and whatnot. But like that breakdown is like, there would not be sludge metal without that breakdown. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
But also like I think about all the hardcore stuff that has breakdowns. Like all the hardcore punk shit that had breakdowns, like starting with Bad Brains, Super Touch / Shit Fit. Like if you listen to that, like that fucking song, when I heard that breakdown, I just lost my mind in my room, and I was like, oh, now like listening to this again, I'm like, oh shit, like all the connectivity, just like pop, 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 like I'm just connecting wild dots. I'm just like, yo, this sounds like. Yeah, I could just see. I mean, mad folks were like Sabbath heads, obviously, right? So they're just like, how could you not hear? It's a change up. It is a breakdown. It's like this is like proto sludge metal, proto, a certain sect of like hardcore. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Yeah, Sleeping Village is my shit. My shit.
So good.
And like it comes like I think at the perfect point of that album too.
Yeah,
it kind of hits you with that heaviness that like the opening song has. It gives you that little spark, that little flash.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then it just like that whole song just rides. Like it gets crazy after he's like that second, like I was born without you, baby, but my feelings were a little bit too strong, just a little bit too strong. And then it's just the drums come in and go ape shit. Is why I'm gonna put it when I mix it. I'm gonna put that shit in there so people can hear it.
Let's do it.
No, I was gonna say. Also, it's crazy because we talking about favorite songs. To me, Wicked World is kind of like the basis of the next 3 projects. To me, kind of like if you listen to even how it starts. The world today is such a wicked place. Fighting going on between the human race, and that song literally about like a political situation. So, to me, the album did that a lot too. It touched on certain things that, whether it was different members of the group, it kind of went back to later on. Like if you kind of, like I said, I only was there for the first 3 or 4 projects. So after that, I don't know if it kind of lost, if they might have lost steam with that, but definitely for the first 3, like kind of like these same concepts and lyrical content kind of like carried on to other projects, but it was always done in a fresh way and like a new way.
Yeah, true. I agree with that.
Nah, yeah, hell yeah.
I guess just to maybe as a final question, we can. I feel like we're going to ask every guest this. Why is, or what makes Sabbath so important to the greater musical canon? Like for you, for instance, like Sharif, like as you create and you find inspiration from things or whatnot, like what, like, yeah, like why does Sabbath have a place there? You know, what did they do that you find to be, you know, either like unique, singular, you know, inspiring, so to speak?
Yeah, no, for sure. I would say literally just the whole like listening experience. Kind of just like when especially as an artist, it inspired me to always, like I said, never do the same thing. Always give people different experiences. Like if y'all notice, a lot of the stuff we talked about on here was just different instrumentation, and or maybe just different certain words or certain stuff that kind of carried it together as a whole project. So to me, like when I listen to their music, even as a smaller kid till now, it still hits me the same way. Like I'm like, damn, like this is what music is supposed to sound like. It's supposed to be there, and it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to hear it and automatically always understand it and get it. But when you go in maybe for the fourth or fifth listen, you might, I understand that perfectly now. I love how when he said this word, this guitar raised, this drum solo got lower, like
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of just like a ill stew of just creativity and thought that kept elevating and kept elevating. Like, so it definitely there'll always be a special place in my heart, or just like a creative level. Like when I make projects, I always listen, not from the aspect of what would Sabbath do, but am I pushing the boundaries of what I'm doing in my art form? Like, am I doing something that 20 years, 30 years, they can make a podcast about it? Like, how we talking about them?
Yeah, there you go.
Like,
yeah, that's shit. Yeah. Lastly, you got any other questions for our esteemed colleague?
No, I think we kind of covered it all. You know, I mean, is there anything you want to promote, Sharif?
Nah, just Cyber City out right now, and we got something special on the table cooking up in the store. That's all I can say.
Nice.
Me and the homie No Face, we got something. We got something bubbling real soon that my family up here is playing a nice important part in, but that's for a later convo.
Nice.
That's for a later convo.
Indeed.
Besides that, thank y'all for having me. Peace,
Hey,
love,
thank you for joining
rock
us,
and
man.
roll, and all of the ill shit.
Yeah. And also I want to shout out your recent, somewhat recent at this point, Call Out Culture appearance regarding Redman. So folks go tune into that. You know what I mean, go tune into you also were on Luke's joint, Fly Fidelity, right?
Yeah, that dropped June, I want to say 19th. So that's
okay.
Yeah, I think in another week or so. From what he told me.
Okay, facts.
It ain't dropped yet. It's dropping real soon. I just did the interview last week.
Oh, copy. Okay. Well,
nice. Luke does good interviews. Shout out to Luke.
Luke does great interviews. I'm sitting here with two Fly Fidelity alum. You know, maybe I'll get my day soon.
Come on, Luke.
Hey, Luke, if you listening, get my bro on there, man. What's going on?
Luke and I have quite a lengthy WhatsApp message. So we got something in the book, so to speak. But
okay, hell yeah.
When it happens, it'll happen.
Hell yeah.
Anything to promote or say other than just stay tuned to the next episodes of podcast Bloody Podcast.
Yeah.
It's a summer special.
Summer special.
Special for the summer, you know?
Truly.
So,
week by week.
You'll have good new music for the summer and going into the fall, because this is definitely good fall music. This is definitely like autumn and like when it starts getting brisk in the air and the trees are bare and it starts getting dark a little early.
Yeah. That mist and all that. Word.
Yeah.
Well, facts indeed. My friends, thank you Thank
You
you
already?
so much.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
All right, fellas.
Check us next week. Podcast Bloody Podcast. Fatboi Sharif, my G's.
Yeah.
You already know.
Already.
See you in a second, my G's.
You already. Yeah.